traveling all over the world. We were doing a million things, and Aimee wasn't a part of it. And so it made me feel terrible because I didn't have my whole family. And she just didn't want the attention. She was, 18. It's a tough age for a girl. She didn't want it.
Sounds unbelievable, right? But this wasn't some last-minute mistake. And it wasn't because of traffic or confusion. No, this was deliberate, planned from the start. And when it happened, it didn't just shock fans. It left even the people closest to the Osbourne family stunned. The Osbournes built their reputation by being brutally honest on television, showing the world the chaos, laughter, and heartbreak that came with their larger-than-life personalities. But what the cameras never showed were the quiet, deep cracks in the family, cracks that had been there for years. And when Ozzy passed away, all of that old pain rose to the surface like it had been waiting for this moment. From the moment Ozzy took his last breath, Sharon, the matriarch, took full control of every detail, from the public memorial to the smallest guest list decision.
Good morning.
Is that me? Good morning. That's Dad.
Dada.
Dad.
Say good morning.
Good morning.
Whether her choices were about keeping the peace or about keeping control is something only she truly knows. But one thing became clear. Aimee and Kelly were left out of one of the most private and sacred moments, the burial. And to understand how we got here, we have to go back, not just to Ozzy's final days, but to the very beginning of the rift between these sisters. Not all siblings are close. Some grow up sharing secrets, laughter, and dreams. Others share nothing more than a last name. For Aimee and Kelly Osbourne,
this is also another thing that I respect her for. Her daughter Aimee.
That's what I would, yeah.
Yeah, never wanted, no interest, ever had any, was it ever a discussion?
Yes, it was in the beginning. And
for those people that don't know, I'm just going to catch them up. The Aimee is your
oldest, yeah.
Yeah, Aimee is your oldest daughter, who's also a very talented singer.
She is, and writer.
Who and I became aware when I became a big fan of the Osbournes reality show that there's another kid that we're not seeing.
Yeah.
And was that hard? Was that
very, very hard on me?
The gap between them wasn't caused by one big fight. It was shaped by years of living in completely different worlds. Even though they came from the same home, Aimee Osbourne, the eldest daughter of Ozzy and Sharon, never wanted fame. Even as a child, she avoided the spotlight. When the Osbourne family signed up to let MTV film their daily lives in the early 2000s, Aimee made a decision that shocked everyone. She refused to join the show, The Osbournes, which would go on to become one of the most chaotic, unforgettable reality series in television history. While the rest of the family embraced the cameras, Aimee quietly stepped away. She moved out at just 16 years old, an age when most teenagers are still figuring out who they are. For Aimee, it wasn't about rebellion, it was about survival. She didn't want to live in front of millions of viewers, where every laugh, every argument, and every tear would be replayed for the world to dissect.
Very well. It's sad, he wasn't that old, was he? He was only 76. Makes you feel a bit vulnerable.
He was like their iconic front man.
We're lucky people who got to see him, and isn't that a way to go?
I did love Black Sabbath. I also liked Sabbath when Ozzy left and did his own thing. I think they still went on to great things.
But it may have been that he knew he wasn't going to last much longer, and he just wanted like one last concert.
She valued her privacy, her peace, and her ability to live without constant judgment. Kelly, on the other hand, ran straight into the spotlight. She was loud, funny, bold, and unfiltered, the kind of personality that reality TV eats up. She thrived in front of the camera, becoming a breakout star and later moving into fashion, music, talk shows, and endless red carpet appearances. So there it was, one sister chasing the cameras, the other running from them. If you've ever had a sibling who's completely different from you, you know how hard it can be to stay close. For Aimee and Kelly, their differences became a wall. There was no headline-making feud, no screaming match on social media. But there was tension, quiet, heavy, and unspoken. Kelly once admitted in an interview, "We're just very different people. I don't understand her life and she doesn't understand mine." Aimee rarely spoke about Kelly at all, but when she did, she always seemed careful, almost guarded. Even Sharon admitted it was painful to see her daughters so distant. She said it wasn't about fights, it was about silence. And sometimes silence can hurt more than yelling.
Manage other people besides people in your own family?
No.
No.
And I only manage Ozzy, I don't manage the kids.
Oh, you don't?
No.
You did though, right?
When they were little, sure. When they were like 15 and 14, sure. But when they got into their 20s, no.
Aimee's choice to leave home young meant she missed birthdays, holidays, and countless family moments. She became an outsider in her own family. She later said she often felt like the odd one out, a feeling that followed her into adulthood. And for Kelly, that absence didn't feel neutral. It felt like judgment, like Aimee thought she was too good for the family chaos, too proud to be part of their messy public life. Neither sister ever truly confronted the issue. The years passed, and the space between them grew wider. Everything changed when Ozzy's health began to fail. The tour stopped, the flashing lights and constant interviews faded, and behind the scenes, the family had to face a reality no one could avoid, that they were running out of time. That's when Sharon made the call to Aimee. "Your dad needs you." After years of keeping her distance from the public side of the Osbourne family, Aimee didn't hesitate. She came home. Kelly was already there, helping with medication, checking on doctors, and trying to keep the household running. Their reunion wasn't filled with hugs and tears. It was awkward. Years of unspoken history don't disappear just because someone's dying. But both sisters understood that in this moment, it wasn't about them. It was about him. Aimee played soft instrumental versions of Ozzy's songs in his room, read to him, and sat beside him quietly for hours. Kelly handled the nurses, the medicine, and made sure Sharon got rest. One afternoon, while Ozzy slept, the sisters found themselves on opposite sides of his bed, each holding one of his hands. They didn't speak, but in that silence, something shifted. If you've ever been at odds with someone for years and then had a moment where all the anger just melts away, you know what that felt like. No apologies were spoken, but for a brief moment, the noise between them faded. When Ozzy passed, the funeral was exactly what you'd expect for a rock legend, a private chapel far from the paparazzi, filled with iconic faces from the music industry, lifelong friends, and people who'd been around since the very first days of Black Sabbath. Kelly stood at the front, her voice shaking as she spoke. But here's the part no one knew. Some of her words had been written by Aimee. They'd worked on the speech together in Ozzy's final days. For a moment, it seemed like the family had truly started to heal. Sharon sat in the front pew, holding herself together on the outside, but visibly shaken inside. Then, as the public service ended, the mood changed. While guests were saying their goodbyes outside, several cars quietly pulled away. Those cars were heading to the private burial, the final resting place. Aimee and Kelly were not in them. They weren't invited. Sharon told people privately, "They've caused too much division. This needs to be peaceful." But those close to the family said it wasn't really about peace. It was about control. It was her final goodbye, and she wanted it her way. If you thought the band from the burial was the worst of it, you'd be wrong. The day after the funeral, a deeper battle began, not over money or property, but over Ozzy's legacy. Hidden away in his collection was a vault of unreleased music, demos, lyrics, voice recordings. Kelly wanted to create a tribute album, blending Ozzy's vocals with orchestral arrangements and bringing in rock legends he'd worked with for decades. Aimee refused. She believed the music should remain private, that Ozzy hadn't given permission for it to be released. To her, putting it out would be exploitation. That's when a cousin leaked a brutal quote to a tabloid: "You left us. Don't come back now like you care." It didn't have a name attached, But everyone knew it was aimed at Aimee. Jack Osbourne, usually the peacemaker, had enough. He called for a family meeting. His message was simple: no public fighting, no interviews, no social media jabs, space and silence. Before we wrap this up, I've got to say, stories like this remind us that family drama doesn't magically disappear when tragedy strikes. Sometimes, it only gets louder, and with the Osbournes, every choice seems to carry a weight that the public will never fully understand. Ozzy's music, his wild personality, and the way he shaped rock history will always be remembered. But behind the stages, awards, and headlines was a family that loved him in their own complicated ways. For Kelly, that love meant being in the spotlight with him, defending him, and celebrating him publicly. For Aimee, it meant stepping back, protecting her peace, and loving him from a quieter place. Neither path is wrong, they're just different. But when those differences clash in moments of grief, it can get messy. Very messy. The image of those empty seats at the burial will stick with fans for years. Was it about protecting a peaceful goodbye? Was it a statement about loyalty? Or was it, as some believe, about control? The truth might be a mix of all three. And maybe we'll never know the full story. What we do know is this: families are complicated. You can share blood, history, and love, and still end up on opposite sides when it matters most. And when the world is watching, every wound feels 10 times deeper. So now, I want to hear from you. Was Sharon's decision fair? Should Aimee and Kelly have been there no matter what? Or did she make the right call to protect the mood of that final goodbye? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I already know this section is going to be lit up with opinions, and I'm ready to read them all. It wasn't a happy ending, but it was a fragile truce. And now, the question remains: was Sharon right to keep Aimee and Kelly away from the burial? Or was it a step too far? One thing's for sure: the Osbourne story ain't over.